Adam Shai, expert on the cultural boycott of Israel. Thank you for joining Jerusalem Center Online. In recent years, international performers have been pressured to stay away from Israel as part of the boycott. Is that the case in the 2016 concert season as well?
Well, there's no shortage of international acts coming to Israel this season, and virtually all categories are represented. Some of the biggest names around, such as contemporary acts Sia and Die Antwoord, have already played. Slightly smaller acts, such as the Brian Johnston Massacre and the Eagles of Death Metal, who survived the terror attack in Paris's Bataclan last year. Slightly older acts, which were popular during the 90s, such as alternative rockers Garbage and the Chemical Brothers and Latin heartthrob Ricky Martin. 80s music, which still has a pretty big following here in Israel, such as Alphaville and Morrissey, who was just on the seam line between the 80s and 90s. Slightly older acts and golden oldies, such as Air Supply and The Searchers, and even big iconic names such as Santana and Queen will be frequenting Israel. Another important thing to mention, Israel has a very solid heavy metal scene, which enjoys a regular and constant flow of international acts.
Adam, according to your positive report, it appears that the boycott movement has had a failure in terms of the American and European groups that have come to Israel. What about other countries?
There are two very distinct acts which should be pointed out within the context of the cultural boycott, and for two very different reasons. First among them would be South African rave-rap duo Die Antwoord. This is a very interesting and unique act. This is currently one of the hottest names around. They use an interchangeable hybrid of Afrikaans and English and Xhosa. And they create an alarming post-racial manifesto, which really rubs salt in the wounds of racialized class inequities in post-apartheid South Africa. Now, this makes Die Antwoord a very uniquely and distinct South African act, and as such, it makes it a prime target for BDS activity. The South African chapter of the boycott movement is crucial for BDS legitimacy, and bringing about the cancellation of such a distinctly South African act would further strengthen the claim that Israel is an apartheid state. And now there was a very intense and aggressive campaign to pressure the band into cancelling. However, the band paid little to no attention to this. And once they took to the stage in Tel Aviv, they told the boycott activists exactly what they thought of them. Another act worth mentioning is that of guitar icon Carlos Santana. Santana had cancelled his performance in Israel back in 2010, when the cultural boycott was at its height. Now, although claims were made at the time that the cancellation was not political, we need to remember that in this ongoing battle, any cancellation has political ramifications, and it has the potential of creating momentum. Also, the boycott movement will take credit for the cancellation no matter what the cause. This is why Santana's recent performance in Tel Aviv was so important. The fact that a performer of iconic status, who had in the past cancelled a performance, now feels it is safe and legitimate to return, tells us that as far as the cultural boycott is concerned, the worst may very well be behind us.
Adam Shai from the Jerusalem Center, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.